The air in Formula One is usually thick with the smell of high-octane fuel, burning rubber, and the ozone scent of cutting-edge electronics. It is a world defined by millimeter-perfect engineering and secrets guarded by biometric locks and encrypted servers. But sometimes, the fate of the entire sport doesn't hinge on a daring overtake at 200 miles per hour or a brilliant aerodynamic breakthrough. Sometimes, the biggest storm in the history of racing starts with the hum of a standard office machine. Picture the scene. It isn't a high-tech spy bunker. It is a mundane, everyday location. A woman walks into a shop. She is carrying a stack of papers, a massive stack. She approaches the counter, perhaps checking her watch. Trading this is just another errand on a to-do list. She places the documents down and makes a simple request. She wants a photocopy. The machine whirs to life. 1 page, 2 pages, 10 pages. The light scans back and forth, duplicating lines, diagrams, and technical data. But as the pages pile up, the person behind the counter freezes. They look closer at the sheets sliding out of the tray. This isn't a recipe book. It isn't a student's thesis. It is the heart and soul of the most famous racing team in the world. And the person pressing the copy button happens to support that very team. In that quiet moment, amidst the smell of toner and paper, the fuse is lit on a bomb that is about to blow a $100 million crater in the paddock.
If you want to know all about this and other F1 stories, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel right now. To understand the sheer absurdity of what is known as Spygate, we have to step back and look at the scale of the operation. Formula One is a sport where millions are spent to gain 1/1000th of a second. Teams like Ferrari and McLaren are titans, constantly locked in a war for supremacy. Every winglet, every fuel mixture, every suspension geometry is a closely guarded state secret. Industrial espionage is the ultimate taboo, the dark shadow that everyone fears. And in 2007, that shadow became a reality in what is widely considered the biggest espionage story in the history of the sport. The accusations were heavy, the rumors were wild, but the reality of what happened was staggering in its volume. This wasn't a case of a single stolen blueprint or a whispered rumor in a hospitality suite. The scale of the leak was industrial. McLaren, the British powerhouse, had obtained a technical dossier from their arch-rivals, Ferrari. And this wasn't a light reading. It was a dossier consisting of 780 pages. Imagine holding a stack of 780 pages. That is the thickness of a substantial novel, an encyclopedia of speed. Within those pages lay the secrets of Maranello, the technical DNA of the Ferrari race car. For a rival team to possess such a document is akin to a superpower gaining the launch codes of its enemy. It completely unbalances the playing field.
It turns the sport from a competition of engineering into a farce of plagiarism. The mere existence of these 780 pages in the wrong hands was enough to destroy reputations and careers. But how did it all unravel? How does a transfer of information this massive, involving the two most sophisticated technology companies in motorsport, get discovered? You might expect a tale of hacked firewalls, black ops meetings in dark alleyways, or sophisticated electronic surveillance. You would be wrong. The downfall of this conspiracy didn't come from a genius counterintelligence operation. It came from what can only be described as an amateur error. The method of the leak's exposure is so clumsy, so incredibly mundane, that it borders on comedy. It revolves around a single fatal decision to step out of the digital world and into the analog one. The wife of a McLaren engineer was tasked with a job. She took the 780-page dossier, this radioactive brick of stolen intellectual property, and walked into a common Xerox shop near Woking. Woking, the home of McLaren, a place where F1 is part of the local fabric. She didn't go to a secret underground facility. She went to a public store, a place where people copy flyers for lost cats or birthday invitations. She walked up to the counter and asked the staff to photocopy the entire document, 780 pages. The sheer audacity, or perhaps the sheer lack of awareness, is mind-bending. But here is where fate intervened.
In a twist that no scriptwriter could invent, the employee working at that Xerox shop was not just a disinterested clerk. They were a fan. Specifically, they were a fan of the Scuderia. As the machine churned through the paper, the employee began to notice the details: the prancing horse, the confidential stamps, the unmistakable logo of Maranello on page after page. It wasn't just a bunch of technical drawings, it was clearly property of Ferrari. The employee, this unsung hero of the Tifosi, found it strange. Why was a massive stack of papers with the Ferrari logo being copied in a shop near the McLaren factory in Woking? The suspicion was immediate, the loyalty was instinctive. The shop employee picked up the phone and made a call. They didn't call the police immediately, or the newspapers. They called Italy. They called Maranello to report that their secrets were currently sitting in a copy tray in England. That phone call changed everything. It triggered an investigation that would rip the sport apart. The aftermath was nuclear. The FIA, the governing body of the sport, came down with the full weight of their authority. The evidence was undeniable. The defense crumbled under the weight of those 780 pages and the testimony of a Xerox shop worker. The punishment handed down to McLaren was historic. It was a number that sent shockwaves through the global financial markets, let alone the sports pages. McLaren was fined $100 million. $100 million.
It is a figure so large it loses meaning, becoming an abstract concept. It remains the largest fine in the history of sport. But the money was only part of the pain. The sporting penalty was absolute. McLaren was stripped of all their points. They were disclassified from the Constructors' Championship entirely. A season of hard work, of podiums and victories, was erased from the record books in an instant. The team was humiliated, their integrity questioned, and their bank account drained, all because of a dossier and a photocopier. Today, when we look back at the 2007 season, we remember the incredible racing, the rookie sensation Lewis Hamilton, and the champion Kimi Räikkönen. But lurking behind every race result is the shadow of Spygate. It is remembered as the $100 million photocopy. It serves as a cautionary tale about the fragility of secrets in the modern world. And perhaps the most enduring legacy of the scandal, beyond the fine and the disqualification, is the sheer ridicule of how it happened. In the high-stakes, high-tech world of Formula One, the mightiest team in Britain was brought to its knees, not by a rival engineer or a master tactician, but by a trip to the stationery store. Imagine the memes that would flood the internet if such an amateur error happened today. A $100 million empire toppled because someone needed a hard copy.